everyone. Welcome to Snowpal's Software Development and Architecture Podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. We're going to chat with Vidhi Vohra, who's a certified emotional practitioner from the Priority Academy and a legal contract lead with the prestigious Big Four. Beyond her professional accolades, Vidhi is a people person, finding joy in connecting with individuals from diverse backgrounds. When she's not navigating legal complexities, Vidhi dedicates her time to making a positive impact on people's lives. Vidhi, thanks for taking the time again to have this chat.
Thank you, Krish, for calling me again, and I'm very happy to answer whatever questions you were left with last time. So you can just throw it on me.
Perfect. And this is going to be so, folks. This is the third video, the third podcast with Vidhi. Please check out the previous two podcasts. Even you can check out the first one in any order, but the second one, and I'll name it accordingly. Sorry, so you get context. We started a conversation talking about the impact of social media on mental health, and Vidhi had a number of wonderful points, personal experience and professional experience to share. So take listen to that, and then you can continue this. That way, you get a bit more context. So Vidhi, we talked about a number of different things, and we ended the podcast with your closing comments, where you suggested a number of those, number of ideas for us to not have these distractions. So we'll go to that a little bit later. I want to start with one of the things you mentioned. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? So with that phrase, the quote unquote quoting that what somebody else said, you took an example of a couple that you noticed who are standing in front of a beautiful car. They took some photos and they posted that on social media. And as it turns out, it wasn't necessarily their vehicle. Now that's not the fact that they own it or not is not necessarily important, but the point was you had alluded to the fact that people had reacted in a few different ways, and you start asking yourself, hey, am I in the right business? Can I why am I not able to afford that vehicle or that beautiful dress or something along those lines? Let's kick off the conversation there, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, do you agree? And what are your thoughts on social media and comparison, and what kind of role that does it play?
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate to it that, comparison do kills the joy and also the peace from within. Because, the moment you start comparing yourself to other lives, which you are not even aware is true or not, and that too on social media, definitely it's going to kill your peace of mind. And once your peace of mind is destroyed, there can be no happiness and joy in life. It's that directly related, right? So definitely, that is why I keep saying that don't make social media your, it should not change your opinion about your life or bring necessary or unimportant changes to your lifestyle. You have a separate life. People have different lives. You don't know what's the background, what is happening in their lives. Just looking at the social media and deciding on the fact that I am not worthy, or causing your own image in your own head affecting your mental health is not a correct thing to do for yourself. Even if you are comparing yourself to other, or people are comparing your lives to theirs, it is going to impact, like, even in the short run or long run, it is going to impact your mental well-being. And once your mental health is not good, you're not going to stay happy ever in life. So
Fair points,
comparison,
right?
even if in the families, we are talking about social media, a lot of comparison happens in the families, right? Does that give you any kind of joy or happiness? When this small thing, which you know what you are capable of, and it affects so much, that is, you can say, within the family, it affects you even more because those are very close people. And people who are outside your domain or you don't even know them, even for example, celebrities, they are on social media all the time. And I'll give you my example. Like I also wanted to reduce weight, not because I wanted to be very healthy or something like that. I just wanted, because I was thinking that I have gained weight after having my second son. So I was thinking that I want to look like this, I want to look like this celebrity, I want to look like Shilpa Shetty maybe at some point of time. So it's not that they are not working hard, but you do according to your capability, right? It is not that image which you are creating in your head about you matters. It doesn't matter what you create on social media. Maybe Shilpa Shetty is starving herself to death, or some other celebrity is doing that kind of
Hmm.
stuff, but you can't see that. You're only looking at the physical aspect of it, that she looks beautiful, or some other celebrity, they look beautiful, they look glamorous. And second thing is that they have cameras and filters as well, which now you can also use to look prettier and slimmer. So if you are, this image of yourself should not affect your mental way. Just stay happy the way you are, and gradually everything passes by. Like, I have reduced, like, on my own pace, lot of weight. So it's not that you have to run after a certain person, or certain rules and norms that they are following. You do it the way you want to do it, without affecting your mental health. Physical health will eventually come, but mental health, once gone, takes years to be at your peace of mind. So I would suggest that just don't get comparisons and these kind of things get into your head and take away your peace and joy from your life. Just enjoy.
Okay, great
Yeah.
points, right? I'm going to make it a little bit the question even more difficult. And here is what it is. It's not so much a question. I'm going to ask myself that and then pop it to you. So comparison is a thief of joy. Like we've sort of established that, and we agree, both of us. Uh, Social media does play a role here, but here's my question, right? I'm thinking aloud as I ask you this question. They say keeping up with the Joneses, right? So what's happening with your neighbor? Did my neighbor purchase this car? Did they make some upgrades to their homes? And that's comparison as well, right? So that is going to, going along the lines of comparison is a thief of joy. So what is this might come across as a rhetorical question, but that's not my intent, but I'm going to ask the question. What is the difference between me looking at somebody else on my street buying a lovely the Tesla Cyber truck, for instance, today, and saying, hey, you know what, maybe I can afford it, maybe I cannot afford it, versus social media and have that having its impact? Because the reason I'm asking this is our topic. Even though mental health is important in totality, we had a conversation about that in our first podcast. Here we're talking social media. So if I were to play the devil's advocate with you and ask you, hey, you know what, Vidhi, if I am the kind of person who gets affected by somebody buying a Cybertruck on my street, I might get affected by somebody buying a Cybertruck on Facebook as well. So why is social media playing? What role is it specifically playing here when it comes to comparison?
So I would take it in a way that, nowadays people don't go out so much because their work culture is hybrid. They are working from home. But social media is something which is 100% 365 days at your fingertips, right? So it impacts you more. The more you see social media, the more you go through it, it impacts you more. Maybe I walk the roads, I see, a lot of things which I really want to buy for myself or for my family. But it comes and it passes by because it passed by, right? But social media
Absolutely.
is not something like that. Social media is constantly triggering you. Every like Insta, whatever social media you are using, it has a pattern, it has an algorithm like that, that whatever you see, it keeps on coming back again and again in your posts and feeds. So you just can't get away with it, right? Even if you want to just forget it from your head, it will keep on
You nailed
popping.
it there. You absolutely, because I don't want to say that, because I did not want to influence your answer with my thought process.
Mhm.
Your first point is exactly what I had in mind, and your second point is going way beyond that. And I think you literally hit the nail in the coffin there, right? So I just want to add to what you're saying here. If it's a neighbor, I only have so many neighbors. They can
Yeah.
only buy so many cars. Even if I were the kind of person who was impacted by this, it was finite. But like you mentioned, if you open it up to social media, now Vidhi is buying a car, Vidhi's neighbor is buying a car, Vidhi shares somebody else that Vidhi knows is buying a car. Now I'm constantly trying to compare myself to everybody in the world, and there's a lot of people in this world. So this is more aggravated, right? The problem is
Exactly.
still there. If you're the kind of person who does not get affected and does not compare your achievements or lack thereof with anybody else, that's almost nirvana, right? I would love to have
Yes.
attained that state. But if you're still working towards attaining that state, we want to reduce the amount of impact we possibly have. So your first point was essentially, hey, I see somebody on the street. I might think for a second or two, and then I forget, and then I
Yeah.
move on. But on social media, I'm constantly subject to it. But your second point is even more interesting. What you said there was social media now picks up. Oh, Vidhi likes cyber trucks. Let me
Exactly.
show you somebody buying a cyber truck in Edinburgh, in Bombay, in Washington D.C., in France. I mean, they're not probably selling it in Europe just as yet, but as a simple example, now you're subjected to more and more cyber trucks. Now social media cannot tell the difference between Did Vidhi see a Cybertruck and maybe she doesn't want to see any more of that because it made her jealous? Or
Yeah,
Vidhi actually wants to see more, right?
exactly.
So it gets more aggravated. So what I mean is the easiest solution, the most difficult and the easiest solution is you suggesting, say, recommending Krish, don't even look at it, right?
Yeah.
But that's easier said than done, right? That's easier said than done. So how do I incrementally, I mean, this is maybe beyond mental health advice I'm looking for, but just from a conversational standpoint, what do you think are some of the things that might work for me to not have? I mean, I cannot change, right? I mean, we don't necessarily change overnight as people. What would be your
So you answered
recommendation?
it yourself. You will not change overnight, right? So if I am like I am personally very emotional, right? So whenever I see Insta and there is emotional stuff, I keep watching that, and then it keeps on coming back. But I don't want to be so emotional that I feel emotional all the time for all the people, because not everybody is worthy of emotions, right? So what I did was I when you get an option of not interested, right? If you really feel that you want to get out of it, just stop watching that stuff, and eventually it will stop coming to your post and feeds and broadcasting and stuff like that. So you have to do it with intention. It's not that somebody else is going to come and see, oh, Krish doesn't like that, let me stop that for him, or with he is too emotional, let me not get her to that content. It's not possible. You have to do it yourself, and it's a long term process. It's not that in one day. I couldn't do it not interested for like 2 years. I kept on watching, I kept on getting emotional, and I kept on getting more emotional, and I kept on crying, oh, this is such an emotional stuff, emotional quotes and everything. Then eventually I stopped. I was like, what am I getting? You asked these questions
Mm.
in the previous podcast, right? What am I getting out of this? So this is very important question. What are you getting out of what you are watching? Yeah, it makes sense. We watch movies, we get entertainment, right? But if something is triggering a touch point where you don't want yourself to be touched upon, then why? If you don't want somebody to talk to, you will stop talking, right? You have that complete right and all the capabilities of doing that on a social media. If you don't like somebody, you block him or her, right? Same goes with the content. If you really don't want to see it, just mark it not interested. Don't follow it. It's
You
that
know,
easy. But
you
yes,
know,
it takes time. It's not one day.
it takes time, it takes commitment, just like with
Yes,
everything in life, right? Like
absolutely.
let me take even this example of, we're having this conversation about mental health. Let's say we spent a few hours having this conversation. We've sort of gotten to know each other along the process of having this conversation. Let's say I was watching mental health videos on YouTube. Sure, I can watch it, right? I can watch mental
Yes,
health videos all day long, but having a conversation with somebody, a real person who feels very passionately about this topic, I can speak for myself. I think it's not the same. It's not the same
not
at
the
all.
same.
Correct?
Yeah,
It's not even in the same ballpark. So you give yourself an opportunity to having these interactions. Some of us are more social than other people. That's very understandable.
very
But we
interesting.
find, and I'll give you an example in this context. Osho, right? Again, Osho is a very controversial figure. So I'm not, again, every name, every person is controversial. I
Controversial.
try to take the good out of people. I've listened to some of what Osho said, and I'm going to quote an example. I think I'm going to paraphrase this example. So I don't know how much justice I'll do, but I'm going to give it a shot regardless. Osho says, I think a very wealthy king or someone like that was very unhappy, very, very unhappy. Had all the money, all the wealth, and a lot of the examples you mentioned, wealthy celebrities, popular people, right? So let's say take somebody like that. A king was very wealthy, very popular. He's very unhappy. So he comes to this sage and he's like, hey, I feel like I'm not happy. What should I be doing? And then I think, the sage says, and again, paraphrasing from my recollection, it's not accurate, but the idea that I hope I don't lose the essence here. The sage says, you know what? Why don't you put all of your wealth, all of your achievements, everything in a bag? Whatever you own today, put that in a bag and bring it to me. I'm sure I can do that. And again, it's hypothetical, right? You can put all of your achievements in a bag, but
Yeah.
imagine that he puts all the achievements in a bag. He comes back and says, "This is it. This is everything I own. I'm very wealthy. All my fame, all my dollars and the money, everything is in here." I might be exaggerating a little bit of the story based on my recollection, so my apologies to people, but I'm trying to keep the essence here. Uh, and adding my own creativity or lack of thereof to it. So there's a bag that comes, and then the sage takes the bag and the sage runs away. He completely runs away with the bag. And then the king is like lost now. Oh my God, I had everything in the bag. I put all my achievements, all my fame, all my money, all my wealth, all my acquisitions, everything is there. And I'm lost it. And then someone told me the sage is a good person. That's terrible. And then everyone's like, oh, you should be hallucinating because the sage is one of the best sages and he would never steal something from anybody. He's like, no, that's what happened. I lost everything that I had. And then, a few days go by, and then he keeps looking for the sage, and then he finds this. The king finds the sage. The story turns out longer, and my apologies again, but say he finds the sage. And then he says, you stole my bag with all my achievements and money. Where is it? And then the sage says, here, it's right here with me. You can take it. He gives it back. And then the king is super happy, extremely pleased, really satisfied, and there's jubilance all over. And then the sage goes, you probably know the story, there's not much more to it, but I want to state the obvious. The sage goes, I did not give you anything more than what you had. I just took away what you have and gave that right back to you. The fact that you lost what you had and you got it back and got the exact same thing back now gives you so much pleasure. Now you go figure, should you have been unhappy to begin with, right? This is literally the
Yeah.
story. I want to just add, the reason I mentioned the story in the context of what you mentioned within the last podcast and in this one as well is, now this is a story, right? This is, most likely fiction, but it makes a point, and I think it made a very strong impact in as far as I was concerned, because never a day goes by. You know what? I want to build more APIs. I want to build more endpoints. I want to build more products. I want to do this. I want to build more applications at Snowpal. And that's what we live as a company for, and that's what we're going to do. But while we build a new API, while we build this new endpoint, uh, we don't want to forget to feel proud about the ones we've already built. Because 12 months ago, we did not have a published. I'm bringing bringing software in the mix here, and I promise you, this is not intentional. This is not manufactured. I'm just telling you, this is a very honest story. Not a day goes by where we forget about, oh my God, should our API also be doing this other thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it should. But then we didn't have this a year ago. Taking a moment of feeling satisfied about what you have is important, but it's very, very challenging, right? But it's
And
each
that's the sad part, I have seen people, I have met people, I see every day that, and we see a lot of posts, lot of things, people talk about gratitude, but actually people are not feeling it every day in their, what do you call it, in their routine life. They just forget to thank God and, look back and see what they have accomplished. Like, I'll give you my example. I started very late in my career, and my friends are like on such good positions and packages, and I always felt that I have been left behind. And when I look back, I feel that I have not been there, of course, in the career terms, but I have achieved a lot. I see my friends going to work, leaving their kids back at home, and they're crying, and they really have to rush sometimes and everything. But that time was there when I literally wanted to work. But then when I look back, I look that I was blessed that I did not have to do all that.
Mhm.
So whenever you think that something, you have lost some years, lost some time in your life, or lost some accomplishments, look back, you have accomplished something. Something you have accomplished personally, or maybe professionally, emotionally, mentally, but definitely it's going to be something which you have accomplished back then. It might
Absolutely.
not sound that great when you were doing that. It was just a routine thing. But now when I look back at my own pace, in my own journey, I have achieved, and I am here where I was supposed to be after 10 years, more or less at the same thing which I wanted to be. It took time. Maybe my friends did it 10 years back, I did it now, but everybody has a time,
And
right?
you're running, each of us is running our own race. We're not running
Exactly.
someone else's race, right?
And
So
when
it
you
doesn't
start
matter.
running somebody else's race, you will definitely lose. So run at your own pace, live your own life, and be happy and be thankful for what you have, got in your life, what God has blessed you with, which is difficult but practicable on a daily basis.
Wow, this is,
People tell you to write. I have never written a diary or something, though people, mostly mention that write gratitude diaries, say thanks, and you feel, if you are feeling thankful, if you are feeling gratitude towards something, just do it then and there. Yesterday we had a gratitude email from office. I am very new to this place. I don't know a lot of people, but there are a lot of people who helped me in these 2 weeks, and I did not hesitate the moment I saw that email. I tagged everybody on, global level, that yes, these people helped me in these 2 weeks and it has been great. So you feel it, you just do it. When you feel aggression, you fight, right? But when you feel loved, you feel gratitude, you feel thankful, why do you take a, setback and take time to think, should I say, should I don't say? Why? Anger is spontaneous, so should be thankfulness, love, and gratitude. It's not that this is something that triggers you. Love should also trigger you. Thankfulness should also trigger you. People will
you,
definitely remember you for all this. They will not. I will not remember Krish that he was the CTO or CFO of Snowpal. I'll remember him because we had such good communication. We had such great conversations. I'll remember you for that. Even my family, who will be like hearing it out, they will remember Krish not because I have not even seen you, not even met you, except for the video calls. So at the end of the day, it's only the matter of, that thankfulness which you have, that you have met good people. And I am very fortunate that I have met wonderful people, wonderful friends in my life. So you have something or the other to be thankful. But people don't do that very often. And I think they should. So,
You said it beautifully, right? And you mentioned something because, when I had a chat with Valentina a couple of days ago, I'm going to publish the podcast. I mentioned she had made a reference to mental health, and I said, hey, Vidhi feels very strongly, and we should have a conversation. And I think I shared that with you offline before the podcast. And you mentioned something that actually Valentina said towards the end of the call, and paraphrasing what she had said, folks, definitely check out that podcast as well. It was a wonderful conversation I had with Valentina about remote work. And what she said towards the end of the call was she said, I'll give an exercise to all the audience, which is, call again. I'm paraphrasing based on recollection, but she said, call 3 people who helped you this year in 2023 and express your gratitude. It's interesting that mentioned that. So I think the three of us should hopefully we can have a conversation around these topics, showing gratitude to other people for what they have done, like just to express the gratitude right here in the recording. I know I shared with you offline. When I reached out to you, I'd done a lot of these podcasts, not collaborative podcasts, independent solo podcasts, technical podcasts. I had not done in collaboration. Someone recommended that I do it. The person who recommended, I couldn't be more grateful to the person who did. They wanted me to not necessarily share. They did that, so I'm not going to give their name away. But they had said that it was not my idea that I should start collaborating. When I reached out, you had you don't know how what the podcast could be. I mean, I'm just hopefully improving as I'm doing this, and I want to at least believe that, but nowhere near a professional podcaster, right? Not even close. But you gave an opportunity. You said, you know what, Krish, let me give it a shot and I'll do the podcast. So how that's a simple gratitude, right? Thank you to Vidhi to saying, you know what, let me give Krish this opportunity to have this conversation with me. That's people taking a chance with somebody else. It doesn't come easy with no expectations whatsoever. So when you have this gratitude, it gives you a sense of mental peace as well. To me, it does. Now, for folks who are watching, what in the world does it have to do with social media? My apologies if it doesn't. I'm not trying to tie things, but there is a sense of relationship. What I will say is, we've talked about social media and its negativities to a large extent, right? It
yeah,
does have its cons. But if not for social media, I would have never connected with Vidhi on LinkedIn. I would have never asked you, hey, if you might be willing to join the podcast. We would have never had this conversation to begin with. We live in two different parts of the world, many miles apart. So there are pros, like we said at the top of the first podcast, right? And there are cons. We have to draw these balances.
balances,
Now,
absolutely.
social media doesn't inherently, there are some things unique about social media, but comparison is not necessarily unique to social media, right? It aggravates certain situations.
Exactly.
So we want to sort of balance this, right? We want to balance this and say, and draw some comparisons, right? Do, jot it down, try something for a couple of weeks without a phone. Like you mentioned, right? You said, hey, I'm going to keep my phone further away. I'm going to not touch my phone on Saturdays, for instance, to the extent possible, and see if it makes you feel happier. If it does, great. If not, you make some adjustments, for instance, right? So you have to sort of keep trying. I've been rambling for a bit. I mean, does this make sense, Vidhi?
Yeah, it does. See, everything that we are talking about is actually coming to your mental health, mental being, be it social media, be it devices, be it whatever. So everything comes to your peace of mind. If you don't have people around you, I always connect this to people, because people are such an important part of our lives. We meet people every now and then from like everywhere. So it's very important that you have good people around. I have cut down my social media. I have cut down my phones on weekends. And trust me, these kind of distractions do distract you also from the feeling of which we discussed, like gratitude, thankfulness, because you are so occupied with your own self image, with your own things all the time. It doesn't give you time to spend quality moments with the family or with the people who actually cared when you needed it. A lot of
Mm,
my friends supported me when I actually needed that support. But when I'm on social media, I don't think about them. But every day I realize that whenever I put down my phone, I have so much to think about life, about myself, about my family, about the people around, about my house, about my home interiors and everything. But once you are occupied in phones, it doesn't give you a chance to be yourself and do what you really want to. So, for like, this is social media should definitely be a very, very minimal part of your life and not everything, which is just the opposite today. So it's sad, especially in the in teenagers I have seen. So with teenagers, I also feel that parents also have a responsibility that they should, if they are seeing that kids are spending too much time on social media, there might be some internal issues which they are facing, right? Sometimes children don't tend to get a chance to speak to their parents because
mm,
parents have their own lives, they have work. Kids don't feel like they have somebody to chat with or connect with, and they go to social media as a blanket that okay, it will cover everything up, everything will go out of my mind, and then everything will be sorted. But it's not true. It's like, I always tell this example generally in Hindi, but I'm just making that in English, that it's just like,
No, if you don't mind, Vidhi, just sometimes it's lost in translation. If you don't mind saying it in Hindi and translating, if that's all right.
Okay, so I always tell people who are, just taking a blanket of social media or anything, that it's just like ki, there is a cat and you are a pigeon, and you just आप सिर्फ अपनी आंखें बंद कर लेते हो and thinking कि बिल्ली भाग गई है, but it's not true. Whenever you will open up the eyes, there is a cat. So there is a problem. You just can't go without, just close your eyes and you will think that when you will open it up, it is not there. It is there. It will stay till you fight with it and just remove it from your life. So don't
Mm,
take social media as a blanket to cover your issues and problems. Talk to somebody. Nothing works more than talking to somebody. Social media also gives you a chance. If you have some good friends, like a LinkedIn community I was talking about, I have made some very good friends in that community. I can talk to them about anything. And especially, I am happy that I have found some female friends to back me up, which is very difficult, because this is also one of the points which I really want to talk in some other podcast about women empowering women, which is also not happening.
mm,
We as women drag women on our own, be it at our home, be it at work. So women really need to empower each other if they really want to see the change. Also on social media, like, I am a woman, and if I see some women wearing some clothes which I really don't like, I will be the first one to comment on it. See, kaise kapde pehne hain, right? So, a lot of things need a change on social media. Also, a lot of people talk about it, but how often they do it, that's important. And how often social media impacts you, how impactful it is impactful, and that's why you have to draw a line. How much are you getting impacted with all
well,
of
wonderful points, right? And you also mentioned, I think, in the earlier podcast where, when you're posting something, and again, this also goes to demographics, right?
yeah,
Different age groups, different, there's a variety of factors that play a
yeah,
role. And I think your example was, am I able to take, not you, but I think your example was, hey, before you take a photo and publish it, do we feel that we should use the filters. We need to make some adjustments and then
Exactly.
publish it, which means that's added pressure. And I reckon, I don't know empirically, but I reckon depending on the age group that you belong to and what you're trying to achieve by posting that photo to whatever distribution channel you're posting to, that could have a profound impact as well. I would imagine,
I
right?
have seen, like, when I was thinking about this particular topic, I was reading through a lot, and a lot of researches are happening how teenagers are getting so much impacted with social media. They have so much pressure to look good all the time, to look in a certain way, at a certain age. Why? I mean, this particular social media stigma is actually taking away the happiness of being a teenager, being a kid from them. I remember when I was a teenager, I just wanted to be myself. I don't want to, I don't recall if I wanted to be like somebody, or wanted to have a figure like a hot heroine or something. I just wanted to be myself, and I was very happy because there was no pressure on me. But nowadays, like kids want to be lean, they want to be slim, they want to have this kind of hair, this kind of eyes, and filters are helping them to a certain extent to get that, but it is spoiling their internal image, which
Hmm.
they are actually are. They are becoming what the world wants to be, they are not what they want to be, and especially with
Correct.
girls.
You know,
Too much.
this is amazing that you mentioned that, because it's social media, but also the apps, right? It's
Yeah.
not just what you're publishing, it's what you do before or after you
After.
publish as well. For instance, when I'm doing that, I can give you a personal example, right? I mean, uh, I'm I post technical content, right? Videos. I used to do the video, that the nature of videos has changed, and we're doing these collaborative sessions, for instance. But I actually would just pick up the camera on a trail and then would hit record. And then I look at the recording. Sometimes I'm wearing an all right shirt, other times not. Even as somebody was publishing a technical podcast where I was talking about how do you implement caching in Flutter, I looked at the video. I was like, should it? I always think, man, maybe my hair, if I had Brad Pitt's hair or Brad Pitt's face or everything about Brad Pitt or DiCaprio, it
Yeah.
couldn't hurt, right? But I'm saying it's very natural to have that thought process. But then after you hit record, you only worry about the content of what you're
Exactly.
creating essentially. But that takes, that depends on the type of content, the
Content.
demographic you're in. So it's not the same. I cannot speak, or I'm not trying to make it easy for anybody, but I think these are important. So the more time you spend, the more impactful these things could possibly be. And I'm trying to think, if 20 years ago when I grew up and I was in college, if these tools were there, would have been for the better or not? I don't know, right? I don't know. Maybe it works for somebody, maybe it doesn't work for somebody. So what kind of guidelines, Vidhi, do you think do you establish? I know I asked a similar question in the last one, but if you told me what are some guidelines I could possibly establish, let's say it's not just the notion of phones, but it's also things like somebody's, and I look at a post, somebody says they're in the beautiful beaches of like Italy, for instance, or something along those lines. This is really cool. I'm here. It's like pretty cold winter in the DC metro. That, I mean, I'm sure it's cold at this time in Italy as well. But let's say, maybe in South America it's warmer in a different hemisphere. How do I accept and digest that content and not be completely impacted by it?
See, we are humans. It's not possible that we are not completely impacted by it, because we are that ways as humans, that everything impacts us, negative or positive, whatever is there. But yeah, if you look at a positive post, suppose any of your colleagues, any of your friends or relatives are visiting at some place, plan about it. You also can go. If you can't afford it, that's an entirely different thing, but you always have places, nice good places, which is not maybe Italy or Mauritius or Switzerland, beautiful places, but you always have places locally where you can go and enjoy. What is the intent of going to places? Getting peace of mind, enjoying with family and friends, taking some quality time out from work. You want some peace and clarity in your head, what are going to be your next things to do, right? These are basics which people go on a holiday, and majorly to enjoy, to have some time off. Is it really necessary that you go to a fancy restaurant, fancy
Hmm.
hotel to stay, or something very expensive? you can do every type of enjoyment and happiness within your budgets. Don't tag yourself ki, somebody is going to Mauritius. I always wanted to go Mauritius, that's why I'm quoting Mauritius again and again. And a lot of my friends have already visited Mauritius, and I plan to that I'll go someday. But it doesn't make me feel sad that oh, they have went, I did not go, and I start feeling sad about it. I can go to some other place for the time being and have my good time, and then when probably I can save some more amount, I can go to a similar place or Mauritius as well as I want to, right? So it all comes with time, Krish. Trust me, I was not this 10, 12 years back. But yes, with time it comes, and you have to change your own mindset. There is nothing that your mind cannot control. Nothing in this world. I think humans have this power to control their brains as much as they have control over AI. AI is getting out of hands at the moment, but your mind cannot go out of your hands.
You
It
know,
is
you sorry,
definitely
go ahead.
have the control. So I think, don't, if something is impacting you, don't let it impact you in a negative way. Think something positive related to that. For you gave your example that you saw a post that somebody is using, how it cannot impact you. That's the only way. Look at the positive sides, do positive things, and tell other people also to think positive about those, and create a, I would say, a circle of friends or people of friends who are not negative and who don't get impacted by these kind of things. They feel happy in their own skins and whatever they have in life. So you have to build that culture around you also, and that can start with you, or if somebody has already started, you can join their culture. So both ways.
These are great points, right? I want to add to your examples. You gave some personal examples. I want to share a couple. So, during April, I think in the month of April, cherry blossom, we have the cherry blossom
Yes.
festival
Yeah.
in DC. It's beautiful, right? Really beautiful. So the actual the tree, it comes from Japan, right? Cherry blossom. So I do this all the time. I go there. It's lovely, and I make these videos, and I sometimes talk in those videos just for fun, saying, "Hey, I'm in Tokyo. Things are beautiful. It looks lovely, right? But I'm not in Tokyo, not even close. Um, but I've done this many a times, and then you come back and look at the video. You probably couldn't tell. I don't know if they're any different in Tokyo, but it looks pretty much the same here as well. I don't have to go to Tokyo. DC is like 25 miles from here. Doesn't cost me a whole lot.
Yeah.
It should cost lesser than it does because these tolls have gone up, but that's for a different podcast. But it costs significantly lesser, obviously, right? We're going from compared to going to Japan.
And you
So I
feel
think
significantly happy doing that, right?
happy. You see, the point I'm trying to make, I want to say, take one more example. I think I shared this with you offline as well. I'm going to share it in this podcast because it's very context sensitive. I read this article many years ago. It was a blog by a Bengali guy. For folks, Bengali is West Bengal is a state in India. It's the eastern part of India, a beautiful part of India as well. I don't know him personally. He was beautiful in his writing. He was relocating after having lived for several years in the U.S. I think it was the West Coast. He was relocating back to West Bengal, to Kolkata as it's called now, right? He presented his thoughts in a lovely manner in writing. It's one thing to have your ideas and thoughts, but it's entirely another to articulating it, whether it's verbally
Yeah.
or through writing. Some people are blessed. He wrote it, and a lot of people wrote and asked questions. Hey, I'm not happy where I am. Should I be relocating back to my place of birth or home place or whatnot? There was a lot of articles around this, but he wrote, in my mind, it resonated with me ever so beautifully. He said, ask yourself if you are happy where you are currently living. If the answer to that question is yes, then relocating back to your hometown will make you happy as well. But if the answer to the question is you're not happy where you are, and your intent is to relocate, make a change to find happiness, he's got he's like, sorry brother, I'm going to have bad news for you. You're not going to be happy, right? So that happiness cannot be found by changing locations, by traveling miles and distances, because I will tell you personally, I do not like flying, much to the dismay of my parents. As they get older, I would go if it was not too far. It's nothing, no other reason. I just don't like flying. I never liked it. Somebody put me on a plane years ago, and I can put myself on a plane back to going anywhere else. And I find happiness in local travels. I can take a train to New York or drive there 4 hours. That's good enough. I don't need to go 20 hours. I'm not saying travel is good or bad. It just is not for me necessarily. I think we have to find what makes us happy. And
Happy.
sometimes there's no
Absolutely.
straightforward answer.
Right.
So just because Vidhi is spending her vacation in Italy doesn't mean I might have to go to Italy, right? Italy is a beautiful
Exactly.
place, obviously.
Yeah.
I would love to go. But it
And
shouldn't
trust
be
me,
because
some
someone
people
else went
really
there.
don't want to go out. Like, they want to spend time when they have holidays. They want to spend time with family because generally, with work, you generally don't get a lot of time. Be it you are in a business or you are working, you hardly get any sufficient enough time which you really want to spend with your family. And when you get it, if you are, if you're happy going out, do that, enjoy the time. Just don't use social media on holidays looking at, okay, next time we are going to this place because this person is going at this
Yeah,
place. Just avoid doing that. At least when you are vacationing and on a holiday with family, enjoy that time because you took deliberate step to take the time out with your family, and you are
right.
ruining it looking at the social media all the time.
And then the relevance to all of this, the last 20 minutes of a conversation, the relevance to social media, here is the how I see the relevance. If any some for anyone watching this and they're like, okay, this makes sense, right? Hopefully it makes sense. But what's the relevance to social media? I mean, there is a relevance because when you're actually constantly looking at other people's messages, agreeing or disagreeing on social media, doing all of this activity, going through reels endlessly, for instance, you may not have the time to have the sort of a reflection of some sort. Only when you have that reflection, you can make any adjustments that might be necessary. So your time is not all taken up by browsing through someone else's feed, right? Actually spent some time ago, like on just to check this out, actually on Instagram Reels. I think I'd spent like almost 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. Three
Yeah,
hours
I
on
know.
Instagram Reels.
So, I'll just cut you here because I remember
Sure.
one thing. So there is a study. Okay, so the intention behind creating all this stuff is it exactly creates the same happy hormone like it's called dopamine, right? It's a happy hormone. It creates that into your mind, and it becomes so addictive that you just can't leave it. And of course, companies are earning because that is what they have built it for,
Yeah.
but you are not getting anything out of it. I look at one time I look at a makeup video that how to do self makeup, which I'm still very bad at, but I watched that, and now constantly they are giving me all the makeup tips all the time, and it lures you to buy so many products which are actually useless. And every time I watch them, I feel like, should I buy it? And then I realize, and then you have to think that what is it going to help you in? I don't use makeup, so if I spend 2000 rupees on a makeup kit, what fun it is going to get me? If I'm not using it, it's just kept in the almirah for years and years to just expire. What is the fun of doing it? So every time you are instigated by a social media post or feed or something, you have to think at least once before doing anything, that what is it helping you in, right?
Absolutely.
Just like when you say something to someone and you are thinking to say something, you generally think, right? Until and unless it's an argument, you generally don't tend to think, but otherwise you think and speak that what impact it's going to have on the other person. It's exactly the same you know proposition that you have to do with social media. What is it giving you actually? Is it worth spending time on? I do it, and trust me, I do reels, and whenever I do it for a longer period of time, my eyes give me a clear answer that it's too much. And
And
next day, my eyes pain, and then I realize that I have to literally, literally delete all the apps for some time. I stop using.
mm,
I just put a status message that I am going off social media for some time. Please don't mind if I don't reply on your post, on your messages. Please don't mind that, and it's okay to do that. If somebody is feeling oh, she's going off social media and she is showcasting it, yeah, I'm showcasing it because people feel offended about it, that she has not posted, she is not commented. Okay, I have given you the information, it's for you to take it. How you take it, it's your choice, but I'm just telling you I am off. So, and it's nothing wrong in it. It's your life, you have to decide what is best for you. And social media
no,
is no good except to a certain extent. So don't
You
get,
know,
you know.
super points, right? I asked this to a guest recently. Let me ask you the same question. And it's not, it's just so, if I did some math recently, some time ago, and
Mhm.
if it's more or less accurate, Vidhi, let's take just YouTube. If you, let's say at midnight, something gets uploaded to YouTube, right, by a large number of people. 24 hours, just 24 hours. So pretend that at midnight, somebody content gets uploaded, starts getting uploaded to YouTube, and it keeps getting uploaded for 24 hours by everybody in the world. Presume that there was no content in YouTube before midnight, and
Mhm.
presume that there is no content going to be uploaded to YouTube after it hits midnight the next day. So my assumption is 24 hours worth of content. Now a baby was born at midnight. Now there's 1 day's worth of content. How old do you think? And for folks who watched the previous podcast, sorry, this the same question, but I think it's relevant to our conversation here again. How long do you think, Vidhi, the baby might need to turn out to be before the baby is able to consume that all of that content posted on 1 day on YouTube? No content before, no content after. The baby is going to consume content that was posted on a given day. How old do you think the baby might be before the baby can end up having consumed all this content?
Um,
I'll give
and
you the answer, right? If you want to take a stab, take a stab. If you want to ask me, just ask me. I'll give you the math that I did.
so I think not the, I would like if it should not be a baby. I'm sure the, if somebody wants to really absorb that in 24 hours. You were talking about a newly born baby?
Yeah, no, I'm just taking as just to express that this is the math I did. If a baby were born at
Mm-hmm.
midnight and there was 1 day's worth of content and there's no other content, and if the baby's only thing to do in that baby's entire life was to watch content that was uploaded on that day, I'm just exaggerating all of this, obviously. By my math, if my numbers are more or less accurate, at least
Uh-huh.
by the numbers I had read a while ago as to the amount of content that was getting uploaded to YouTube, the baby would turn out to be 90 years of age before the baby can say, I've consumed content from that 1 day. Now, this is going by the numbers, but there was no numbers. I did that because I was very curious to know. I
Yeah.
was trying to find out how much content is uploaded. Now you tell me, now
Mm-hmm.
that's just YouTube. I'm not talking TikTok. I'm not
Yeah.
talking Instagram. I'm not talking everything else. So, as you mentioned earlier, you're
Scrolling.
endlessly
Yeah.
scrolling, right? And after 3 hours, I asked myself, did I actually? And it's okay. I spent 3 hours. I could have watched Oppenheimer and spent 3 hours as well. Correct? It's the same 3 hours. But to me, in my mind, that was content that Christopher Nolan took a lot of pain to make, and a lot of people acted. And you know how
Absolutely.
laborious it is to make
Yeah.
movies that are that level of quality and filmmaking. But this was like, folks like me who probably don't understand a lot about making content necessarily. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's their prerogative, but I was not particularly pleased that I spent 3 hours watching that content because half the time I didn't appreciate it. So I just was got restless and I kept
That's
scrolling. And
exactly.
like you mentioned, your eyes start hurting. And then you're like, I told myself, I'm never, ever, ever going to Reels again, right? Doing that. Now that seems simple, right? But
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, not that I've not asked you insanely crazy, difficult questions here, but now we are in the business of making software as a company. I've had this conversation with a lot of people who are in the business of distributing content, of fantastically smart people. They're telling me, Chris, you need to, you're distributing your content on, say, LinkedIn and maybe Medium, writings, right? We write on those two places. Podcasting, we publish on a couple of different platforms and then it gets distributed, right? They were like, Chris, that's not enough. I mean, like, this is not enough. This takes us, after
Yeah.
writing the code and doing all of this takes a lot of our time. They're like, yeah, but there are people who consume content on Reddit. There are people who consume content on, I don't know, like on TikTok, content on Instagram Reels or on Facebook videos, for instance. So you cannot create content, distribute content in a couple of places and say your job is done. You're going to have to publish it everywhere. Now, you tell me, I come to you. I agreed with you. I said, Vidhi, all of what you say makes sense. I don't want to like spend time on social media. I don't want to publish. I don't want to watch all these reels everywhere. but I also want to be successful. I want to actually sell what we are making. I'm being told that I have to distribute it to different people. I don't expect you to have a perfect answer, right? You didn't sign up for having this answer. I'm just asking this question out aloud. Do you think there is an interesting conundrum?
There is. So, like, I will give you our recent example. We are doing a podcast. This is also social media, right? It's a social media
Right.
platform where we are going to distribute the content from. So, people might have this question in their head for us as well, that you are doing all sort of social media. You are, distributing in LinkedIn and
Absolutely.
here and there, and you're talking about. So, but it is important, but it should not impact your mental health. I understand we are in business and social media plays such a crucial role. Until unless you know social media, how to use it to the best of your, business purposes or personal purposes, whatever purpose you are using. But it should not impact your mental health. If Krish and me are taking that stress that, oh my God, if I will not be on social media, if I will not be distributing it and will not monetize it. So how, what is the fun of doing it? If you will make it a pressure, it will definitely, it's anyways not going to help you. Even if you distribute it on social media, do whatever you want to, stay awake day and night, do whatever you want to. If it has taken your mental peace and mental health, it's anyways not worth it. It was never, right? We will do it. We will telecast it on Apple and Spotify and LinkedIn and everywhere, and we are giving time to social media, a lot of time, 2 good hours we are doing it, right? But it is not taking mental peace away from me. I am doing it because I enjoy doing it. I am not doing it
Absolutely.
for for any money sake. That might follow, that might not follow, but that is not my intent. But another aspect, that people who are into content creation and their business in monetizing, creative content and stuff like that, they have different ways of distributing it. They have SEOs, they have people who are in the digital marketing zone, they help them. So you take help and take it as a job of 8 9 hours and try and complete it within that zone, like we do our jobs, our regular jobs. Content creation is not easy. Trust me, I also write, and it's not easy to get wake up with a new topic and write and do stuff like that every day. I am short of ideas. I just don't feel like writing. Some days I'm like, no, I can't do it today. So it is not something which should take away what is important to you. It should give you something and not take away things from you. If it is not worth, not today, not tomorrow, not at any given point of time in life. So you have to prioritize how much social media you want to use, how you want to use it, how much you can absorb from it, what you are learning out of it. Everything is important. So you have, like, you prioritize your day every day, prioritize the use of social media also, be it professionally or personally. I use it personally also and professionally also, but I just keep 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour
Right.
before sleeping, so that nothing is missed from my end, so that the community which I am a part of, they should not feel that Vidhi is taking not taking part, and active participation is not there. I just do it for that reason. If you have some priority settings in life, then only in any profession or anything you will be able to make the most out of it. Otherwise, it's not going to help you any which ways.
And
So
I
that
think you
prioritization, I think, is very important.
I think you said it perfectly there again, right? You mentioned so it's good, but everything has to be done in moderation. So what we are talking about here is not like it's never right or wrong. Nothing in life is black or white, right?
Right.
There's always a middle ground. So if you say, hey, I do enjoy this, but I'm going to allocate a certain amount of time. That's the time I'm going to allocate. So I'm not saying I won't check emails. I'm just saying I'll check emails 3 times a day, for
Three times.
instance, not
Absolutely.
300 times a day, right? I'll give you a very practical example, a real example here. Let's say there was a period of time in our lives where I used to go to, say, somebody's birthday party, for instance, or an anniversary party, or anything, things of that nature. We used to go. It was dinner. We socialized with people, few hours. It was personal interaction. I'm going to play the devil's advocate, right? It was not social media. I was having this personal interaction. Was I particularly enjoying the activity of doing that? Necessarily, because I did not, it was not just my cup of tea. It was no right or wrong. It was just my cup of tea. I'm like, okay, I was able to spend 3 hours. I had conversations, but maybe not the types of conversations I was looking to have, for instance. And now I made those adjustments, and content creation gave me that avenue. I was able to create content I wanted to create and share with people. Now, the conversation I'm having with you, where this is time I enjoy having this conversation. I chose to have this conversation. You chose to have this conversation, and we're having a conversation about a certain topic, for instance.
Yeah.
To me, this is content creation collaboratively, and sometimes not collaborative because I do it otherwise as well. But things I want to do consciously, and I found a way to figure out what is it that I enjoy. So
Enjoy.
there is this positive aspect to content creation. And if I created this content, I had nowhere to distribute this content. Would I be creating this content? Not necessarily, right? I still
Yeah.
would send it to family. I've created content and chatted with friends and family, like on other messaging, like WhatsApp, for instance, or whatnot, right? But not to this extent. The fact that I can make this to reach a community gives me that inspiration. But that's not to say that you're Mr. Beast, right? You have like 200 million people, right, on YouTube. Probably, of the channels I posted, I have, fair number of people on, say, podcasting wise, but YouTube probably have like 50 people, right? And it was mostly three people. My mom watching it diligently because she had to do this job, because I'm posting it, somebody's got to watch it, for instance, right? But it didn't make a difference to me. I was not posting it. It'd be great if more people watched it, because I take a lot of time and effort to explaining how to fix like a Golang bug, for instance. So
Yeah.
it'll be great if people watched it, but that doesn't discourage me at all. You know what I mean? I do it because I enjoy the activity
Enjoy.
of doing it. But if I now started doing it only because, oh, nobody's, what are the views, what are the comments, is what kind of traction is happening, then I think it's going to take a toll on my mental health. I'm giving you a very
Exactly.
pragmatic example. So I've made the decision that if more people watch it, great, it'll be
Great.
awesome. But if it takes time, sure. And I know there are other people who are not very different. They have very few followers or
Yeah.
subscribers or whatnot, but they actually have an interest in posting that
Mm.
content consistently. So I think we all have to find our zone where we are happy doing what we're
Happy.
doing, right?
Mm.
So there's
Right.
no, so we can't vilify social media, because if not for that, like I said, I would have never had to be able to connect with somebody who had wanted to have this conversation. So I know I said a lot of things, but are we then saying, in recapping this, there's no easy answer. You find your own rules. You
Yeah.
gave some suggestions. You said, hey, set some time limits. Put your phone away for it. I'm going to actually, with having these conversations, I'm going to make some adjustments myself. There are things you told where I used to do no phones on Saturdays, but it was not easy for me. Now I'm going to make an effort again.
Yeah.
No phones on Saturdays, for instance, right? No doing like putting your phone further away, not carrying it when you're going on. I walk in the house sometimes, if I don't go over and it's cold, and I have the phone and I'm walking. This seems ridiculous. Why should I be
Ridiculous.
holding a phone when I'm
Exactly.
walking?
Yeah. So all these the pointers which I said, I actually these are a tried and tested methods of which I told you. So I think because when I am sitting and working and my phone is right there on the charger, I just really don't want to get up and take the phone. So it takes me away from social media and scrolling up and down and uselessly. Trust me, we use it uselessly. I don't know about other people, but I am telling you,
Yes.
I have like I am working and then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, pick up the phone and start scrolling. What's the fun in it? I mean, nothing, nothing. And then I realized throughout the day that I think I have wasted my 2 hours on doing nothing. I could have done something for my health, for my family. I could have cooked something very nice for myself. It's sitting here feeling hungry and thirsty, but no, I'll not get up because I'm scrolling the phone. And this
Right.
is
Yeah.
very common. I am telling you from a common man's perspective that this is happening with everybody every day, daily basis. I am like super thirsty at some times and I want somebody to come and, fill the bottle for me. And what am I doing? I am just scrolling the phone. I just don't want to get up and, fill up my bottle.
Wow. Right. And
So,
it's because it's become, we are habituated, and they say, right, it
exactly.
typically, to get out of a habit, you need to do something for 3 to 4 weeks. And you
Exactly.
do that, then it becomes part of your habit, and you
Habit.
find other avenues. And the reason I also mentioned content, Vidhi, was, if you create content that you enjoy,
Hmm.
then you're not expecting it. If it gets traction, great, but you're
Great.
not desperate for it to
Yeah.
get traction. But now I also had conversations with people who actually create content that, excuse me, is very clickbaity, right? Where you try to get the traction.
Hmm.
Now you don't necessarily enjoy doing that, but you're doing it to appease the community, and
Community.
that now starts taking a toll on your mental health. So it's basically two parties creating content, both parties distributing content probably on the same platforms,
Platform.
but one of them might have take a toll on the mental health more than the other. It's because of a lot of other factors
Other.
surrounding those items, for
And
instance,
Krish,
right?
this is also true that, whenever you associate money and, earning with something, it definitely adds more pressure. If we would have started with the fact that, okay, Krish, you will be paying me this and, I'll be doing this for you on this basis, it would have been added a lot of pressure. I couldn't be myself that I am today, because that gives you a, unknowing pressure in your head that, okay, if I don't get the traction, what I have to say, I have to be calculative, and I can't do that. So if you are thinking of monetizing something like this, like content creation or something, you have to decide on the fact that, are you doing it as a hobby or as a full-time profession? And if you are doing it as a profession and you want to earn something, then definitely the steps are different. They are not like
Absolutely.
we discussed, right? That is entirely doing a full-time job of creating a content, and a lot of people are making a lot of money out of it. It's not
But you said it correctly, right? Sorry to interrupt you there, but YouTube, take YouTube. There are
yeah,
people traveling around the globe making content, and
yeah.
for the person watching it, wow, with these traveling to say Europe, with these traveling to India, with these traveling to Southeast Asia, with these traveling to South America, to the US. But when it becomes a job, I reckon it's going to be like you're going to make content, something doesn't turn out well, you're going to trash that, you're going to edit some more content, make more content. You have to, it's your job. So what comes across as fun to me watching Vidhi's travels may not be the same level of fun for Vidhi to make that content. So I think we have to be cognizant of, hey,
Exactly.
I can feel jealous very easily,
Yes.
but that is, first of all, jealousy is not good. But even if it,
Good.
you have to justify jealousy and being envious, it shouldn't be misplaced, right? It
Miss.
shouldn't be misplaced envy, right? So you have to be
And
practical
as
about it.
humans, also, sorry, and as humans, we only tend to see what is right in front of us. We are not actually looking what is happening at the back. We just see the final thing, what is happening behind it, and what people are putting it so much of effort, right? Running a company, for example. I did for 2 years. I had my own US staffing company, so I can very well resonate with you that people just see the profits and how is your office, how is the company, how are the people, but they have not seen how many years went behind it, creating it, and the thought process behind it. So everybody is after the final product. They don't want to see the marathon which we have actually run creating that. Same goes with the content. We just justify in our head, oh, she's having such an amazing life, she has created such content, what is she doing, she's earning so much out of it. I'm sure there are a lot of no, not so good content, I would say. I don't want to use any those kind of words, but yes, there is content which you really don't feel like it should be even get a single attraction or single
Hmm.
people to watch it or traffic, but it is going viral, right? But the thing is that it is like it's also a lot of effort which the people are putting into it. Creating this kind of content also needs lot of effort. Not
Oh, you know
everybody
what?
can
It's
do
it's
it.
funny you should say that, Vidhi,
Yeah.
because after I did a video a little while ago, when I
Mhm.
posted the YouTube the technical videos, we had worked on solving a very difficult issue and took us a fair bit of time. And I do this podcast. I started this a couple of years ago simply to
Mhm.
share my experience along the way, like I've told you.
Mhm.
So I posted it thinking, oh my God, this is going to save people a ton of time because I took me a fair bit of time, and we're not we move at a very fast pace as a startup,
Mhm.
but it took us, I would say, like a whole day to get to the bottom of that issue.
Yes.
And we want to share this with the community saying this is going to be awesome. People are going to love it. I think it was something in the space of Flutter, if I remember correctly, or it could be TypeScript. I don't remember. I posted it. Not, having done this a while, I'm not expecting something dramatic. But still, to myself, I was like, you know what, this thing it deserves to go viral, right? Why not? And then say I get 3 views, for instance. I'm telling you, 3 views. And then you see some other piece of content, somebody's going there grabbing, I love samosas, which is an Indian snack for folks who are watching it. If you haven't eaten it, you should definitely eat it. It's one of the best snacks available. So somebody grabs a samosa, makes a couple of comments on it, and it had like 5 million views, for instance, right? 5 million views. Now, the natural thought to me was, life does not seem fair, right? That was my first thought. I'll tell you my first reaction. But then when you think about it a little bit further, that person is eating the samosa today. But they probably have found their way in doing a million other things till they figured out, hey, I've now established a community that's willing to watch me eat the samosa. That is a dramatic achievement, right? I'm here sitting here, haven't yet established that community on YouTube, for instance, to watch this TypeScript complex problem. But if somebody can establish that community because they did some other things right, now you want to hopefully try and learn. Now, the possibility is you want to learn from everybody, but is it possible to learn from everybody, even if you have a true intent of being able to do it with you? Maybe, maybe not, right? That's a different discussion altogether. But I think it's fair to say that what you said earlier, I'm just going to repeat that and have you make the closing comments, right? I'm going to repeat that to say, do it if you enjoy it, but have this sort of self assessment, if you will. Ask yourself, hey, is this what I actually enjoy doing, or could I
Enjoying.
be doing something else? That has to be a self reflection of some sort. There's not going to be a revelation, there's no magic wand here. Someone's going to tell you, do this
Tell you.
correctly, and everything
Right, right,
changes.
right.
So, with that said, I actually want to share one more thing, but it's probably more opportune for the next one. What would your, I know I asked you for closing comments in the first part as well, but how would you, we talked social media, we talked a number of different items, challenges, pros, cons. If somebody forgot everything we've discussed in the last 60 minutes, and if they are only going to remember this closing comments you're going to make, right, what would you tell folks, across different people living in different parts of the world and belonging to different demographics?
So I'll sum it up all in one or two sentences that mindful usage of social media is very important. It is important, but you have to decide and set on your priorities right. How and for what reasons you want to use social media. If it is not important, don't use it. If it is for fun, it is for wishing people and enjoying with them on social media, it's good. But if it is affecting your mental health, taking your peace, taking your joy, making comparisons as we discussed, it is not worth it. You are enough in yourself. I tell everybody that with your own journeys, you will get everything. Maybe somebody has got it earlier, somebody has got later, you will also get it. So don't get on the pressures of social media to look in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, because the people who are showcasing this on social media, they are themselves not doing it. It is all content and it is all for traction, money making, and everything. If people are so happy, they don't need social media to show it off to everybody. Right. So I'll do that. I'll close that with it, that stay happy with whatever you have, and gradually and slowly you will have your own piece of share of happiness everywhere around, be it professional or personal. This I am not saying, as we always mention, that I am sitting at a position where I can say this. I am telling you because I this is my own experience of life. I got a few things early in life, but few things very late in life, and which is okay. But I got it. You just wait for your time. Don't get, attracted to people that, oh, she is beautiful or he has so much of money and expensive cars, and you just don't know the struggles behind all of that. It's just social media only shows what is good. They don't show you the darker side, what is happening in everybody's life. So don't get impacted. Just enjoy your life and have fun.
Great. I'm not going to add any more and have people lose the value of, you said it more beautifully than I could ever imagine summarizing. That is perfectly, beautifully articulated. So we're
Thank
going to thank you so much, Vidhi. This, folks, again, this conversation was on the impact of social media on mental health. This is the second part. It'll be posted along, probably a little bit after the first one. Definitely give the first one a listen, and then you can watch this one as well. I'm going to include Vidhi's LinkedIn URL on the podcast, along with Snowpal related links as always. So, Vidhi, again, this was, uh, I could not have spent my time any better. I'll just say, wish everybody. This is Christmas Eve, so I'm going to wish everyone, and I'm going to let Vidhi wish as well. I'm going to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, have a wonderful holiday season. Hope you have had a very nice 2023, and we wish that you have an even better 2024. Wish everybody a very happy New Year. Vidhi?
Thank you so much, Krish. And I just hope that even if, out of this podcast, even if two, three people also get something, I'll be more than happy, because this is not something every person is, willing to talk about. So if it gives you a positive thinking or changes in your lifestyle which can make you happy, that will be more than enough for me. I'm like more than happy with it. And wishing you all a very, very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and have a good mental health, and take care of your people around you and yourself, and stay happy, stay content, and all the best. And all the best to you, Krish, for the
Thanks,
next one.
folks. We'll be talking more to Vidhi in 2024 for sure. But there's still a week left in 2023. Depending on Vidhi's schedule, I might just drag her into another conversation. Otherwise, Vidhi, wish you a very a lovely holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Krish. Bye bye. See you.